Hi, I'm Kari Steele, candidate for Commissioner for Water Reclamation. Don't forget to vote March 20th for the Democratic primary. Vote early and vote for Kari Steele, chemist and environmentalist, Commissioner for Water Reclamation. Thank you.
This evening we have a very special guest with us. Before I get to that, I want to remind you that the March 20th election is coming up March 2012. There's also going to be early voting. We're going to talk about that. But the reason why we're here is that as you go through the ballot, you go in on March 20th. We want you to go all the way through the ballot because further down on the ballot you have the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District commissioners, and there's going to be 3 vacancies, and one of the vacancies that we know we need to fill will be with Kari Steele. Kari, I want to thank you for joining us this evening.
Thank you.
I've looked at your background. I'm not going to do like some interviewers where they read. You know yourself better than anyone else because you've been with yourself longer than anyone else that you know. So why did you decide you wanted to run for water reclamation?
Well, first, thank you for having me and for, talking to me this evening. But I decided I wanted to run for water reclamation because I feel the board needs a little professional diversity. I am a chemist. I've actually worked in the laboratories for the district, water reclamation, and I've worked as a water chemist for the water department. And I feel my scientific background can be an asset to the board because, as you know, laboratory testing plays a major part in treating our wastewater. And the board could benefit from having a chemist on the board.
Well, that's great. When you said the diversity, I always say the best man for the job always has been and always will be a woman. So that's one great asset that we'll have with you being on the board, is that intuitively women make great decisions, and I'm not trying to win a popularity contest, but that's the truth. And then the thing about, you said something about being a chemist.
Yes.
Now, you give us a little bit of background. I'm not going to do it for you, but you actually you were a pre-med student at one time.
Yes, I have a chemistry pre-med degree with a minor in biology. I've always worked as a chemist. I've worked as a professional chemist for over 13 years now. So my first job was at Water Reclamation. I worked in their laboratories while I was obtaining my chemistry degree. But after I graduated, I began working for the water department as a water chemist. Worked there for a little over 5 years, and now I'm a formulating chemist for a major cosmetics company. But throughout all of that, I've always been involved in my community, involved in politics. I was the past chairman of the Young Democrats of Cook County, chairman of the 6th Ward Young Democrats. I graduated from the Illinois Women's Institute for Leadership, member of different community organizations in the 6th and the 8th Ward. So I've been involved in my community for a while, and when I found out on the board, it's a 9-member board, but I feel the South Side and the South Suburbs is underrepresented on the board. I feel we need a stronger, louder voice at the table. So I would like to help be that stronger voice at the table because there are issues going on in the South Side that I feel need to be addressed, and I feel we need someone who is active in our community to bring information to our community, educate our community about water conservation and what they can do to help water reclamation. Now,
I understand that you talked about transparency. Your background as a chemist will be an asset to the board. And as a commissioner also, we're talking about $1.6 billion budget. What is that money being spent on?
Huge budget. Well, water reclamation, they treat our wastewater, but they also manage flood control. So there's a big issue sometimes when we get water in our basement. When we have the heavy downpours and the rainwater mixes with the untreated sewer water that's leaving our house, and sometimes it overflows. So it's a huge budget, but it's a huge responsibility, and the most important responsibility of theirs is to preserve and protect Lake Michigan. And of course, water is very valuable. I feel we drive by Lake Michigan and we might take it for granted because we see it all the time, but water is a very important natural resource that we have to be mindful of, and we cannot take it for granted. So huge budget, but huge responsibility.
Okay. Now, I've had discussion with people about how the the river flows outward instead of into the lake, and when we had these floods, part of your responsibility, make sure that that overflow from the flood waters don't go and pollute the lake.
Yes.
So that's, and I also noticed you guys are building a new tunnel to help deal with some of that, to prevent the overflow into the lake, to contaminate the lake. Because is it the lake water that's the water that's processed by the city, or you guys?
Right, well, water reclamation, they treat our wastewater, so that's the water leaving your house.
Okay.
Basically your output when you flush your water leaving the house, that's water reclamation. But the water department, they treat the water from the lake that will be coming into our house out of our faucet. So I'm running for water reclamation, but it's just ironic. I have experience at both,
right,
at both parts. So I understand how they relate to each other. And I think that, you know, makes me uniquely qualified because I understand the treatment process and the purification process.
Okay, and the treatment is one thing. I mean, if it's not treated properly, then that can impede or hamper the purification process on the other side where it's reclaimed and processed, and then we get it back through the faucet. So if they're not doing the right thing on the back end,
you know, it affects the Chicago River at times. You know, that was the whole issue when they voted to disinfect the effluent, which was great decision. And when, like you said, sometimes the beaches are closed, when you see the flag flying, and you know, because E. coli has gotten into the water.
Okay.
But also, you know, water department, they have their own treatment process. So we make it easy we can help make it easier for them, but they have their own treatment process. And city of Chicago has some of the best water in the world.
Yeah, I heard that. I've heard that. So coming up on March 20th, you've been going all throughout the district,
yes,
which is
pretty Cook County.
Almost as large as Cook County, right?
Yes.
So you've talked to a lot of people. Are they surprised that you're running with the type of background you have? Because usually people that want to be public servants or politicians usually sit on that board and oversee.
Yes, they are surprised. I get a lot of, wow, you know, you're a chemist. You actually know about water.
Right. And
they're surprised that there isn't a chemist on the board already. But there isn't a chemist on the board. So I feel my professional background can be a great attribute. The county is wide, is huge. It's a county-wide race. So I've just been traveling everywhere trying to stress to everybody, one, that we need to vote during the Democratic primary on March 20th, but also that this is a race that is very important and we need to pay attention to it. It's at the bottom of the ticket, so a lot of people, you know, overlook it. And I'm finding a lot of people don't really know what water reclamation does. So you have to educate them and then convince them to vote for you. Right. So it's double work.
Right. It's not like running for any other office. And that's why we wanted you to come in so we can get this information out and up on YouTube and go to your website. If you go to Facebook, what I like about Facebook, when you go to search box, you just type in K-A-R-I and your name pops up, so it's not like you got to type the whole name. And also, I know with the Young Democrats, you started, I guess, is it because your father was involved? Your father's a former alderman and judge. Tell us a little bit about your dad. So some people say, oh, that's John's little girl.
Yes, my father is Justice John Steele. He's an appellate court judge. He was the former alderman of the 6th Ward. And that was my first introduction to politics because, you know, I grew up around it. But as I matured and got older, when I graduated from college is when I really started realizing that I enjoyed politics.
Okay.
When you're working and you have a day off of work and you choose to go to the ward office, then you know something's going on, that this is what you really like. So I would spend time at the ward office working with Alderman Lau. A lot of times I would just go in there, help out the staff. So that's how I started the 6th Ward Young Democrats, because I was always there, so I just made myself useful, and it just snowballed from the Cook County Young Dems of Illinois, you know.
What about the Sierra Club?
Yes, the Sierra Club,
Tell us a little bit about that, because some people they hear about it, but it seems like it's you tell us, it's a group of people that come together for what purpose?
The Sierra Club is the largest environmental organization in America.
Okay.
It's huge. They basically deal with all environmental issues, but my connection to them is, of course, my professional relationship as a chemist and, you know, working for the water department when I was with the water department and running for water reclamation.
Yeah, because I was in Hyde Park a couple years ago and some people approached me, and I donated some money right on the spot because they were very educated.
Yes.
They educated me on the spot and gave me literature, and I signed up, and it was great exposure. See young people out being environmental advocates, and I learned a lot from that. So we're gonna have to make sure that everyone gets your mark number. You know, old school, it's a punch number, but your mark number,
Yes.
We'll do what we can. But in the meantime, if you're watching this interview, make a note, Kari K. Steele, and running for Metropolitan
Yes.
Water Reclamation District
Yes.
as a commissioner.
Yes, Kari Steele, candidate for commissioner for the Metropolitan Water Reclamation District of Greater Chicago. Sometimes we just say Commissioner of Water Reclamation.
To keep it simple. But once you go through the ballot and you go through the state reps and the senators and the judges, make sure you go through the judges, you'll see it down there. So I tell you what, let's do something different this March 20th. Let's start at the bottom and work our way from the bottom up to Barack Obama. You're not going to forget about it. If you start at the bottom, you won't have no choice but to go all the way to the top
Exactly.
to Obama. So we're going to start at the bottom
Right.
and make sure, and there shouldn't be totally concerned. There are 3 vacancies. A couple people are up for re-election, and then you got one person not returning,
Yes.
made a decision not to return. So we need you on that board as our new commissioner. And you'll be there for how many years?
It's a 6-year term, and let me reiterate what you said. It is a 9-member board, and there are 3 vacancies. So you can vote for up to 3 people for this race.
But the first person they need to mark is?
Kari Steele.
Okay, and we'll get that number to you, but don't concern, just remember Steele.
Yes, still waters run deep. That's what a lot of more mature people tell me. They tell me still waters run deep, and actually I had to Google the song the first time they told me that. But then I was like, oh yeah, so that's kind of catchy. Still waters run deep.
Well, we want to thank you for coming out and sharing your information, and the viewers of also virally, we want you to send this video, send people to YouTube and to the website to see this. We want to thank you again. Kari, thank you for coming out.
Thank you for having me, and please just remember my name. I'm Kari Steele. I'm a candidate for Commissioner for Water Reclamation, chemist and environmentalist.
Thank you.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Kari Steele, candidate for Commissioner for Water Reclamation. Don't forget to vote March 20th for the Democratic primary. Vote early and vote for Kari Steele, chemist and environmentalist, Commissioner for Water Reclamation. Thank you.